What's the story of the one kid never allowed back over at your house? This kid tea in a Dorito bag, then hid it underneath my bed and then tried to blame it on my sister. Me and the kid were around 9 and were playing games on my DS. After she went home I noticed that one of my games was missing. Asked her later if she had it. She said no. But I wasn't really convinced. Few days after that I was on the phone with another friend and told her the story and how I still believe the kid stole the game. Turns out my friend had her phone on loudspeaker and the kid was over and could listen to everything I said. Next time I met her she threw the game at me and insulted me. Didn't want her back at my house afterwards. How dare you correctly accuse her of stealing your game? One of my friends got banned from a kid's house when he was younger cause during a sleepover he reportedly sucked several people's toes. Pretended to be a cat the whole time. I remember him crouched on the stairs on all fours, meowing plaintively and staring at me through the railing while I shook my head at him. No mom. I don't want to go play with him. Yes mom. I will just stay in the kitchen. Kevin the underwear thief. We were around 10 and playing with Lego in my room. He left to go use the washroom. I vaguely remember thinking he was gone for a while and was planning to joke around with him about having to drop a massive deuce. 10 minutes later I hear my mom exploding and yelling for my stepdad. He had snuck into my sister's room and was shoving her underwear down his pants and she caught him when she was coming up to see if we wanted a snack. Apparently this wasn't the first time either. Never saw Kevin again and his family moved a couple months later. We never actually banned anyone from the house while my daughter was growing up. But from grades 1-5 we did ask for prior notice before one particular friend came over. We needed time to child-proof the house. For a good 4 years. Every time this girl came over she would manage to break something. Sometimes just one thing. Sometimes multiple things. Sometimes just small items. Sometimes it was actual structural damage. If we knew she was coming over, all flatware and glass drinking vessels were put away and paper or plastic was used. All solar yard lights were quickly removed from the walkway. Anything that could smash, squash, or feel physical pain was shepherded out of the vicinity. She wasn't maliciously destructive. She just had no idea where her body was in space. Happily, this turned around for her by middle school to the point where she actually became a pretty good athlete. And she was always a sweetheart. But man, for those few years she was a human wrecking ball. Neighbor kid started just coming over to hang out with one of my kids. He was never respectful of my kids' stuff and would occasionally throw toys. The day I saw him throw a toy and a rock at our dog was the final straw. I told that little shitty to get out of my house and I said he was never allowed to be near my house or my kids again. He lived across the street. And I don't think I saw him more than once after that. His family moved away about 1.5 years later. His name was Jacob. This was my 10th birthday. He was messing around and found B pistol my older brother had. He was pretending to be gangster with it, holding it sideways and talking tough. We kept telling him to put it down. And he keeps yelling about popping a cap in our ass and he accidentally shoots my dad in the leg. My parents call his parents and tell them they need to come pick him up immediately. While they were upstairs on the phone, he accidentally took a bow and shot an arrow down the hall into my bedroom door. At my birthday, he fell asleep on the toilet and fell off and got tea everywhere. Instead of cleaning it up, he just left without saying anything. He left his shirt and shoes behind. So he was half naked. The great tea and run we called it. He was 31 years old. For some ungodly reason I invited a boy that lived behind me over to hang out one afternoon. When he arrived he ate all of my snacks. I literally mean all of my snacks. Ate my brownies and potato chips and goldfish crackers. Spent his whole visit watching my older brother play Call of Duty in the living room. And when I tried to get him to come play with me he told me I was too fat to be attractive to him so he would never date me and I need to leave him alone. When I finally got him to leave, he he kicked my dog on his way out. The next time he tried to come over he showed up and knocked on our door. And when I answered he said, "Are you gonna come hang out or what?" I blatantly responded, "No. You're mean to me and I don't like you. Go away," and slammed the door in his face. He was never allowed past our fence ever again. FCK that kid. Edit. Thank you everyone for being as enraged about kicking my dog as I was. She is smiling from doggy heaven. My older sibling had a slumber party when we were in elementary school. One of the friends, who I'll call C, woke early the next morning, marched over to the bottom of the staircase near my parents' bedroom, and screamed, "Get your ass down here and make my breakfast." To my mother. She barreled down the steps with utter fury in her eyes. C never stayed at our house again. Years ago my friend's little brother erased all our unlocked characters on our Smash Bros 64. When I was 12 had a friend stay the night. Woke up in the middle of the night to find him smashing my little brother's seashell collection. Never let him back over or spoke to him. He moved out of state a month later and never heard from him again. On a beach somewhere fulfilling his lifelong goal. One of my little brother's friends. Mom told all the boys to not go in the garden because she was growing haberous. This kid ignored her. Naturally. He went and messed with the hot peppers just because he could. Then proceeded to be an idiot and touch his eyes. Then went to the bathroom to pee. And touched his private parts. She stole my mother's mobile phone. This was around 2004 to 2005. While I was asleep she made tons of prank calls to local people. We lived in an incredibly isolated small town. One of the people she called was the elderly grandparents of a boy from our school who were raising him because his parents were dead. She called and called them over and over asking for the boy in creepy tones. They told me later. My mum is a really chill person, but when she woke up to tons of voice messages verbally assaulting her and threatening to go to the police she nearly aborted me. The girl confessed to me. That was the day after I had to call everyone she rang and apologize to them while they yelled at me, mostly because my mum wouldn't believe I had no idea what had happened. Safe to say she wasn't allowed back. We were basically best friends. He even slept over a couple of times. Then one day, I fell off my bike really awkwardly and scratched my knee pretty bad. He started laughing but then seemed to panic and rode off. I had to limp home and couldn't walk for the next few days. We never hung out after that. Living a new house trying to make friends. My daughter was 6 and her new friend a little older and had been bragged on by the mom as being raised right. Attending the Christian school because of the bad influence in the public school. Etc. Anyway, my wife is on our back porch watching the girls play in the park about 75 yards away. Suddenly she hears the good Christian girl yell at our daughter, "I said get off the FCKing swing." Our daughter had no clue what she meant. Just knowing her new friend was flipping out. So ran crying back home. The other mother was in completely denial, saying there was no way her sweet child could have said such a thing. So my wife was obviously mistaken. My husband ordered pizza for my daughter and her friend. We'll call her T. He put the pizza $sign on the table next to the front door. When the pizza arrived the $sign was not there. After he paid for the pizza, he had the girls empty their pockets. Of course he had the exact amount he had left on the table in her pocket. She insisted she has brought it from home. After a call to her dad, he insisted she return the money but never made her apologize. Instead, made excuses for her. In retrospect, my daughter realized that there was a direct correlation before T's visits and $sign missing from her bedroom. She was banned from our house. He lived in my neighborhood for a few years. I hung out with him a bit and we played Super Smash Bros at my house a few times. We went on vacation. Came home and he was in my house playing when we got home. Apparently he broke in to hang out at my house. He tried again and was arrested. They moved out a few months later. This kid would come over to use our bathroom. Just to piss all over the floor. This girl named Kayla who lived in my apartment building came over to watch Mean Girls. After spotting my hamster and seeing corn kernels in his food, she was convinced that he ate popcorn. I told her that he didn't. Despite this, she fed him handfuls of popcorn as she made her way to the bathroom multiple times throughout the movie. The next day, he was dead. I was 8. This girl I was friends with grew jealous that I got along with my little sister so well and that we always looked out for each other. This girl is like 5-6 years older than my sister. One day, when no one else was at the playground, she hit my little sister on the head for no damn reason other than jealousy. She was so proud of it too. Banned from our house and, apparently, her mom banned her and her brother from the playground. More than a decade later and I still want to punch her in the face. Ugh. FCKU. Vanessa. 11 or 12-year-old boy. Family moved into a house 2 down from me that the owners decided to rent out when they moved. First thing my 9-year-old son tells me it's how cool this kid's throwing knives are. Then tells me he's allowed to pee in the corner of his bedroom. Then tells me he and another neighbor were drinking his mom's wine. Then he smashed another neighbor girl in the face extremely hard with an ice ball. Wet snow he must have worked on for a while. Made her bleed. After all of that, he pulled a knife on another neighborhood boy and kicked his bike over. Also he came into my garage and started going through my tool chest. Parents are tweakers and getting kicked out of the house. Feel bad for the boy. Call CPS. Nobody ever got banned from my house. But I was never allowed at my best friend's house after an incident when I was a little kid. Like way back in 2004. Her dad was building a clubhouse outside from wood and scratch materials. My friend got this brilliant idea to throw a bunch of mud on the clubhouse so we could garner sympathy from our other neighbors and get money from them. I think she was inspired by the cartoon Ed, and Eddie. So she and I went outside and started throwing big slabs of mud on the clubhouse. Our hands and arms were covered in mud. Then, her mom ran outside the house and came up to us and started screaming at me, saying I was disrespectful and a disgusting brat. While my friend, who was the ringleader of the whole F-King thing, just silently stood there and watched me cry. Then I went home, and the lady called my mom, who beat me senseless. It was awful. And I was never allowed back. After that, I never really went to anybody's house. LMAO. Edit. Thank you for the silver. OMG. You all are so nice and supportive. My siblings and I were friends with the neighbor girl who was what I would call a brute of a child. She peed on our couch and caught our stove on fire. Separate occasions. The final straw was when she knocked my sister's tooth out. I'm surprised my parents kept letting her come back. But real physical harm was where they decided to draw the line. He put like 7 DVDs into the VCR before someone caught him. I just banned a kid from my house because he shoved a bunch of Xbox games in at once. Broke a few. Then broke a wireless controller. He couldn't figure out why the Xbox and the broken games were not working. He also broke 2 board games too, along with opening my fridge and just digging through my leftovers and food. Something isn't connecting in this head. Dead behind the eyes as he destroyed stuff. Pray for his teacher. Because he apparently acts like this at school. Well, more couldn't come back then, wasn't allowed, but my best friend was moving away soon and wanted to have one last sleepover at my house. Well, of course my parents let us have one. They bought all kinds of junk food and other shit for us to enjoy. This was a little bit after my birthday, which I had gotten a PS1 on. He brought over his PS1 so we could have an all-night gaming fest. But for some reason we couldn't get it to work. So we just played mine all night. In the morning he had left before I woke up. A-okay, I thought I slept in pretty late. I found out that he and his family moved today. They told me they were moving in a couple days. I was pissed but also sad, but soon I was raging mad. He swapped PS1s and took mine with him. Gone forever. And no, his never worked for me. My brother had a friend who was a kleptomaniac. He stole things that made absolutely no sense. He stole my Dalmatian backpack that I loved. When I caught him stealing money from my mom's jar. It was emergency money we had in case something happened. My mom ended up calling his dad on what happened. I stopped talking to him after that. My little sister was forever banned from a friend's house in high school after she got extremely drunk and ended up puking all over herself in this house and then passed out with no pants on. Which happened right when her friend's mom unexpectedly came home early. Then my sister woke up and tried to talk to the mom. Oops. We lived on a farm and my best friend came to stay for the first time. We were outside in the field when we found a blind rabbit. We went to call my dad, who came out to investigate. I was pretty used to this sight by now. There's a common rabbit disease in the UK called myxomatosis, which is a slow and miserable death for a rabbit. The best thing to do is put it down immediately. So that's what my dad did. Picked it up and twisted its neck. I don't know why neither me or my dad warned her that it was about to happen. But she was crying non-stop until her mum came to pick her up. She's still my best friend, but her parents never let her stay again. Was banned from a neighbor's house for beating him too much in a Nintendo game. She locked my sister and I in a zip-up hamper. Then proceeded to kick us. She also got bit by our rats after being told multiple times that she wasn't allowed to hold them. Apparently her thumb was infected and she had to go to the ER. Her mom wanted my mom to pay the medical bill. I think I was that kid. In middle school I thought that The Hills Have Eyes would be an appropriate movie for my Friday the 13th birthday. 15 prepubescent screaming girls later and I never hosted another birthday party. He came into my house to play N64 while my brother and I were at school. My mom apparently left the door open while she showered, so he just came in and made himself at home. I don't know why he thought this was okay. We were in 5th grade. He asked to use the washroom and then wiped tea on the walls and on the sink and stuff. I went to his house and told his dad, and then the kid came over to clean it up. So one time, this new neighbor wanted to introduce their granddaughter to everyone on the block cause she'd be visiting a lot. Anyways, the little girl was a basic brat, but we let her come over and FCK our toys anyway. Then she also had to go to the bathroom. She didn't come out for a good 30 minutes. When she did, she said she had to go and left. My sister and I wondered why she was in there so long, so we went to investigate. That little shitty not only left her diarrhea stained panties in our toilet, but also left a bunch of handprints that were definitely not paint all over the walls and the toilet seat and the bathtub and pretty much the whole bathroom. My mum was pissed. She wasn't fazed while cleaning it because she's seen worse, but then she went over to the neighbor's house and forbid that girl to ever set foot in our house again. I used to babysit my friend's kid. She was, at the time, dating this very questionable guy. Her son one day, while at my house, got mad at my son over some toy. Kid looks at mine and says FCKU. Nia. Say what? I know. Totally not the kid's fault. He wasn't even old enough to understand what he was saying. He just repeated what mom's boyfriend says when he is angry. But nope. Not happening in my house. And I told the mom that her son wasn't welcome back until she calced assure me nothing of the sort would be said again. Kid never came back. 8 years old. Anna Maria. Girl peed all over our kitchen and ripped the head off my baby Spice Barbie. Dad nailed it back on later. Frankenstein style. But of course it was never the same. My parents mocked her wailing I want and I it, directed at every toy she didn't yet have, for years.